Do you feel like your prayers are hitting the ceiling but never breaking through? Something in your own home is silently stealing your blessings. Hidden, unseen, powerful, and it's right in your kitchen. I know the secrets because I lived them. I served the darkness before I was set free. 3 hidden altars are blocking your favor, keeping your miracles hostage. Tonight, those secrets are exposed and your awakening begins. The first altar is the one most people overlook because it hides in plain sight. It is built around what you eat, how you store your food, and the very energy that surrounds your kitchen. For years, I watched families cook, bless, and serve food, but unknowingly, their prayers were trapped in the darkness. This altar thrives on subtle rituals that feel harmless. A pinch of salt added in secret ceremonies. A bowl left in the corner of the kitchen overnight. A plate dedicated to unseen spirits. These are not superstitions, they are deliberate blocks placed to intercept your favor. I have personally seen wealthy, faithful people pouring out prayers, fasting, and sacrificing their time for God, yet their blessings never arrive. Why? Because their kitchen has become a spiritual battlefield and the first altar is already entrenched. I remember a client, a young woman desperate for a breakthrough in her marriage. Every prayer she uttered seemed to vanish. She didn't know that the very vegetables she prepared each morning were being spiritually offered to entities that feed on stagnation and delay. The altar was subtle, a single dark symbol carved on the underside of a cutting board, invisible to the eye but powerful against her life. When we identified and dismantled it, the shift was immediate. Doors opened, favor came, and prayers that were once blocked began moving. This altar operates in secrecy. It manipulates your sustenance, twisting what should nourish you into a tool for spiritual blockage. It is fed by ignorance, by routines, by the assumption that kitchens are neutral spaces. They are not. Every utensil, every pot, every shelf can be weaponized if unseen forces have anchored there. The spiritual law is simple. If your altar is feeding darkness, your prayers cannot ascend freely. But there is hope. You can identify this altar. Look for these signs. Food that spoils unusually fast, repetitive bad luck around meals, unexplained health issues, constant arguments over shared meals. These are not coincidences, they are the spiritual fingerprints of the first altar. I have walked into kitchens where entire families were trapped in cycles of poverty and delay, never realizing that their daily bread was being offered to entities that blocked their destiny. The moment we purified the space, declared authority over it, and removed the hidden altar, a tangible shift occurred. Blessings returned. Peace was restored. Miracles began. Here's a spiritual principle you must understand. Nothing in your house is neutral. The kitchen is the heart of provision, yet it can also become the center of spiritual sabotage. Those who prepare meals must do so with awareness, with prayer, and with authority. Feeding the body without feeding the spirit is how darkness establishes its foothold. Take action now. Examine every surface, every utensil, every container. Do not assume innocence. I have seen the tiniest objects carry the heaviest spiritual weight. Once you locate and dismantle this altar, your prayers will no longer stagnate. Your provision will no longer be blocked. Your faith will finally manifest the miracles you have been waiting for. And this is just the first altar. The battle is deeper, darker, and more insidious than most can imagine. But now you are awake. You are seeing what others refuse to see. This knowledge is your weapon. Protect it. Use it. Your breakthrough is closer than you think, but only if you confront what lies hidden in plain sight. The second altar is far more deceptive because it hides within what you trust most: your appliances, your devices, even the energy lines of your kitchen. Most people think of kitchens as simple spaces for cooking, but I have seen entire households trapped because invisible forces anchored themselves through the very currents of electricity and metal. This altar is crafted by practitioners of dark arts who understand how energy moves. They do not need to enter your home physically. A single object, an old blender, a refrigerator, a stove can be consecrated as a vessel for spiritual delay. Over time, your prayers, your faith, your blessings all collide against these unseen barriers. They feel blocked, delayed, or crushed. You pray, you fast, you give, yet nothing comes. And the enemy laughs silently, feeding on your confusion. I recall the story of a man who had been financially faithful for years. Every offering, every prayer, every tithe was consistent. Yet he lived paycheck to paycheck, barely seeing breakthroughs. The problem? His kitchen's energy flow was corrupted. His appliances had been spiritually manipulated. His refrigerator had a tiny symbol etched into its back, unnoticed by anyone. That symbol acted like a magnet for stagnation. Once we identified it, performed the spiritual cleansing, and declared authority, the stagnation disappeared. Within weeks, contracts, promotions, and sudden financial opportunities came flooding in. This altar works through obstruction. It feeds on routine, on ignorance, on the assumption that household items are neutral. Every plugged-in appliance can become a spiritual intercept. Every wiring system, every outlet, every metallic surface can carry a curse if it has been targeted. Many believers fail to see this because they focus only on prayer while their environment is rigged against them. Look for the signs. Appliances that break repeatedly without reason, constant power surges in a specific area, unexplained accidents in the kitchen, or feelings of heaviness and unease while cooking. These are not coincidences, they are spiritual red flags. The second altar is meticulous. It thrives on subtlety, persistence, and secrecy. There is a deeper spiritual lesson here. Energy flows where attention is given. If your kitchen is left spiritually unchecked, your faith cannot fully express. The enemy exploits this principle ruthlessly. Your meals may nourish your body, but the spiritual blockages steal your destiny. Without awareness, your household becomes a prison. With awareness, it becomes a launchpad for miracles. The steps to dismantle this altar are precise. Every appliance must be examined, every cord traced, every area cleansed with authority. Prayer alone is not enough, declaration and confrontation are required. I have personally led countless families through this process, and the results are undeniable. Kitchens once filled with spiritual blockage now radiate divine favor. What was once a magnet for delay becomes a conduit for breakthrough. Remember, your faith is powerful, but it must operate in a space free from hidden interference. These altars feed on your ignorance, your routine, your trust in the ordinary. Once exposed, their power is broken. Your prayers ascend. Your favor flows. Your life aligns with destiny. And this is only the second altar. The deeper, darker work continues, and the third altar is even more insidious, hidden, where your attention is least focused, but where the enemy strikes hardest. The third altar is the most insidious because it hides in plain sight within the very tools you touch every day. Knives, spoons, pots, cutting boards. These are not just instruments of cooking. They can be vessels of spiritual sabotage, silently intercepting your prayers and feeding the enemy. Most people never imagine that a spoon or a knife could be part of a curse, but I have seen it countless times. This altar is crafted with precision. Dark practitioners use consecrated objects to anchor their influence directly into the physical life of their targets. The longer these tools are used without spiritual cleansing, the stronger the altar becomes. Every meal you prepare on cursed utensils transfers spiritual blockages into your life. Every plate you serve carries an invisible weight. Every chop, stir, or slice can unknowingly feed the forces that delay your miracles. I once worked with a woman who had been struggling with her business for years. Despite her consistent prayers and relentless faith, her progress was halted at every turn. We discovered a hidden altar anchored through her kitchen knives. The handles had subtle marking symbols meant to attract stagnation and destroy initiative. She had been unknowingly offering her labor and her prayers to darkness every day. When we removed the knives, prayed over the space, and declared her authority, her business exploded. Projects she had been waiting on for years suddenly manifested. Doors opened where walls had stood. The change was immediate and undeniable. This altar thrives on familiarity. It uses the fact that you trust your kitchen tools to anchor itself deeply. While you focus on other areas, prayer, fasting, giving, the enemy has already established dominance through what you handle every day. Ordinary objects become extraordinary threats. And because this altar operates silently, many believers continue to struggle without understanding why. You must learn to discern. Look for signs. Utensils that break repeatedly, items that disappear or are misplaced frequently, recurring accidents while handling kitchen tools, or a constant sense of heaviness when cooking. These are warnings of a spiritual presence tied to everyday objects. Ignoring them allows the altar to grow stronger, while addressing them breaks its power instantly. The principle here is profound. Every object can either serve God or the enemy. The choice is not neutral. If you leave your utensils unchecked, your labor is intercepted. Your prayers are trapped. Your destiny is delayed. But with awareness, every tool can become a vessel of blessing instead. I have personally trained families to consecrate and cleanse their kitchen tools, declaring each object under God's authority, and the results are undeniable. Health is restored, relationships are healed, business and finances flourish. Your hands become instruments of favor, not of stagnation. This altar is also a spiritual test. It measures your vigilance, your awareness, and your commitment to break through. Those who ignore it remain in cycles of delay, wondering why their faith seems ineffective. Those who confront it experience exponential change. This is why I'm revealing these secrets to you now. Knowledge is your weapon. Awareness is your shield. Action is your key to unlocking what has been held hostage. The third altar is perhaps the hardest to detect because it hides in what you trust the most: your daily routines, your daily objects, your daily labor. But once identified, its power is completely broken, and this knowledge empowers you. You can reclaim every tool, every surface, every utensil, and align it with divine favor. You no longer serve the altar, you serve God. And remember, this is not theoretical, this is real. I have seen it. I have dismantled it. Lives have been restored. Families have been delivered. Destinies have shifted. The hidden altars are real. They are dangerous. And they are effective unless you confront them. The fourth and final altar is the most deceptive because it hides within something you trust completely: water. Water is meant to cleanse, to purify, to refresh life. Yet I have seen it twisted into a weapon, an anchor for spiritual delay and blockage. This altar manipulates what should bring life and turns it into a conduit for stagnation, illness, and unanswered prayers. This altar works silently, often hidden in sinks, taps, water filters, and even containers used for cooking or drinking. Every glass poured, every dish washed, every cup of water prepared can unknowingly feed this altar if it has been spiritually anchored. The enemy knows that water touches every part of life: our meals, our bodies, our hands. Control the water, and you control the flow of blessing itself. I recall a family I worked with who were faithful believers. They prayed without ceasing, gave generously, and lived righteously. Yet they were constantly delayed in their personal goals, careers, and family breakthroughs. The source of their stagnation? Their kitchen sink had been targeted. A hidden altar had been set up using water containers and sacred symbols, channeling their daily cleansing and cooking routines into spiritual blockage. Once we identified and destroyed the altar, an immediate shift occurred. Health improved, finances turned. Blessings that had been trapped for years began flowing. The signs of this altar are subtle but unmistakable for those who look closely. Water that seems to stagnate or develop unusual smells. Appliances that break around water sources. Recurring health problems, unexplained accidents while handling water, or an overwhelming heaviness in the kitchen. These are warnings from the spiritual realm, signals that an altar is feeding on what should nourish and purify. To dismantle this altar, you must act decisively. Every water source, container, and tool must be spiritually cleansed. Declare authority over the flow of water in your kitchen. Speak over every sink, every tap, every bottle, and command them under God's power. Consecrate your water and restore it to its divine purpose: blessing, provision, and purification. Never underestimate the enemy's ingenuity. The altar uses the ordinary to anchor the extraordinary power of spiritual blockade. This altar also teaches a powerful spiritual truth. Every element in your environment can either empower or impede your destiny. Water, a source of life, can become a source of delay if darkness has rooted itself. Awareness, discernment, and action are required to restore balance. Once confronted, this altar's power is completely broken. Your prayers will rise without obstruction. Your household will become a vessel of blessing, not stagnation. I cannot stress enough, these altars are not myths. They are real, powerful, and dangerous. They feed on ignorance, routine, and trust in the ordinary. Once exposed, however, they can be destroyed. You must approach them with authority, vigilance, and unwavering faith. Protect your kitchen, protect your home, protect your destiny. Your prayers are too valuable to be intercepted by hidden darkness. When these four altars, the altar of food, the altar of appliances, the altar of utensils, and the altar of water are confronted and dismantled, you experience a spiritual shift so profound it cannot be ignored. Prayer becomes effective, faith becomes actionable, favor becomes unstoppable. The enemy loses his grip, and divine alignment floods your life. This is the reality I reveal to you as an ex-insider. I have. seen the hidden altars, I have dismantled them, and I have witnessed the miraculous transformation that follows. Your kitchen is not just a place of food, it is a spiritual battleground. And tonight, armed with this knowledge, you are ready to reclaim what has been stolen. You are no longer blind to what has been hidden in your own home. The altars that stole your prayers, the blocks that delayed your miracles, are now exposed. You have authority over every surface, every tool, every flow of energy and water. Stand and declare, no darkness can touch my life, my home, or my destiny. Blessings that were trapped will now rush toward you without restraint. Your faith is unstoppable. Your prayers are powerful. Your breakthrough is here. Rise, claim it, and let every hidden altar fall before the fire of God's authority.